All right, well, hello everyone and happy Wednesday. It's digital host A.J. Wuest here, welcoming you back to Before the Four. Of course, the live stream where I go through some of 48's top news stories and then some before our 4 o'clock newscast. As always, wherever you're watching Before the Four this afternoon, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or the 48 Now live stream, as always, thank you so much for watching and spending just a bit of your afternoon here. Now, we have quite a bit to jump into this afternoon, so without further ado, let's go ahead and start things off. And first, let's begin in Huntsville, where earlier today the North Alabama Drug Task Force announced this morning in a press conference that it took down a large-scale drug operation in the first investigation under Alabama's newly enacted Billy Clardy III Act. Now, the operation resulted in 23 indictments, the seizure of $4.8 million in illegal drugs, the recovery of over $220,000 in U.S. currency, 10 firearms, and 4 vehicles tied to the trafficking network. Now, the Billy Clardy III Act was named after fallen Huntsville police officer Billy Clardy III. He was killed in the line of duty back in 2019 while working a large-scale drug trafficking operation. The act, passed in his honor back in 2023, authorizes Alabama law enforcement to use sophisticated investigative techniques to uncover drug trafficking organizations. And 48's Noah Cowell will have more from this morning's press conference, along with the arrests coming up in our evening newscast, so make sure to stick around. But now let's talk about the weather here in Huntsville. We saw a good amount of rain this morning, and more rain is expected for later tonight and tomorrow. Let's turn over to First Alert meteorologist Jeff DeNoyer for all the latest. Jeff?
A very good Wednesday to everybody. We talked about how the potential would be there for more evenly distributed rainfall today. Just about everybody's had some kind of rain. In fact, in some areas, we had too much of a good thing happen all at one time. We've had flash flood warnings for parts of Middle Tennessee and Moore and Franklin counties. We also have a flash flood warning currently right now in portions of western Lauderdale and western Colbert County. We've had so much rain today that it's cooled the air for areas east, and now just some shower activity in Jackson and DeKalb County and Marshall County. Then a break in the middle, and then there's more in the way of more convection or thunderstorm activity for areas west, and that's producing some very heavy rainfall in Cherokee, Tuscumbia, Sheffield, even at the Northwest Alabama Regional Airport, moving into Leeton now, and that's where some of the heaviest rain is falling at this time. It's also where we have the most lightning strikes. And if we were going to have a wind gust of 40 miles an hour, this is where it would be. It's all going to move south and southeast, and that's the flash flood warning for you there all the way till 5:45 p.m. Some areas where this one thunderstorm has already produced 2 to 3 inches of rain with additional rain happening because it's just moving so slowly. Now, areas to the east where we've already had a tremendous amount of rain earlier today is in a flood watch. Why? Creeks and streams are running high, and if all that rain that you just saw on the radar to the north and west starts diving south and east, more rain will be added to the totals that are already gaudy for today. So a series of rain that we really need, like impulses of rain throughout the day. And as many of you know, we've been dry for the last couple of weeks, so this is actually beneficial rain. You just don't want it to come down so heavy that it flash floods and causes flooding and ponding on the roads, but that's what's been happening today. Temperatures reflect the radar, 70s east where it's still raining, 80s in the middle where it's not, and then 70s west where it's raining heavy at times. All the rain will shut down early this evening. It's muggy, low 70s, and then we run it back again tomorrow. Maybe not quite as much coverage, but still a pretty good chance of rain Thursday. The chance of rain goes down for Friday, and then we heat things up for the weekend. Temperatures in the mid-90s Saturday and Sunday with feel-like temperatures around 105 degrees.
All right, certainly good to know. And also, don't forget, I say it every day, First Alert Weather Extra. That is tonight at 9:30. You can watch it wherever you're watching Before the Four this afternoon. First Alert meteorologist Jeff DeNoyer, he'll be back here in the CTV Center, and he'll have all the latest that he is seeing on the radar. So keep that in mind. You're just not going to want to miss it. Jeff always has a great time with it, so Yes, first alert weather extra. But now, moving out to Cortland, today Lockheed Martin officials announced the construction of a new 88,000 square foot missile assembly building. Now, if you all remember, back in 2021, Lockheed Martin opened its advanced hypersonic missile production facility. This facility supports critical defense programs for the Army, Navy, and Missile Defense Agency. Currently over 400 employees, and that number is expected to grow following the new facility's opening, currently planned for 2026 next year. Now, officials say the building is being purpose-built for the Next Generation Interceptor program, and that they have developed a partnership with Florence City Schools launch program to support workforce and development in North Alabama. Some exciting developments there. But now a story in case you missed it, over $2 million in federal funds are going to Huntsville City Schools. Now this following the federal freeze brought on by the Trump administration. 48's Nick Ballinger with the details.
Saved at the bell. Just days before the first day of school at Huntsville City Schools, district leaders were told $2.2 million in federal funding would once again flow into the district. It was Huntsville City Schools' share of $10 billion for school districts nationwide in federal education funding approved by Congress and halted by the Trump administration for review. School board member Ryan Renaud says the district was planning ways to make up that loss.
We would have found a way to shore up that delta or loss of federal funding.
Renaud says some of the programs at risk included Title I funding for low-income families, Title II funding providing better training for teachers, and some free and reduced lunch programs.
The rising tide lifts all boats, and we want to ensure that regardless of race, creed, background, or household income, every student has access, opportunity, and an equitable opportunity to access high-quality public education.
Superintendent Dr. Clarence Sutton says the district would have had to dip into its 6-month reserve to make up those cuts while using local funding to float the programs.
That will cost us a lot. We lose CMP, that's the cafeteria lunch fund, we lose that, or Title I funds. Now, if that goes away, now that 6 months will be negative 6 months, and then we'll be in trouble.
And now this week marks a very sad anniversary for one family in the Shoals. 5 years ago, 3-year-old Caden Gardner was sadly killed when he was beaten to death by his father, Blake Townsend, and father's girlfriend, Yaldrick Pride. The two have since been sentenced to life in prison. 48's Aria Pond spoke with the family of the 3-year-old killed and has more.
A child gone far too soon, and a family left coping with the loss of the light that he brought into their lives. Caden Gardner would have been 8 years old this year.
It's been 5 years, but it only seems like 5 minutes.
Caden Gardner was just 3 years old when investigators say he was beaten to death, help not being called for until hours after his death. His father and his father's girlfriend have since been sentenced to life in prison for it.
You just learn how to cope with it over time. It definitely never gets easier.
His mother, Leslie Gardner, and his grandfather, Jamie Gardner, say they see him everywhere, in butterflies that land close by, in the laughter of his little sister, and in balloons that were launched in his honor, somehow returning to their front yard just 2 days later.
Part of me will always be gone forever. I will never be the same. I get comfort in knowing that my son is in the Lord's arms and that he is his sister and I, guardian angel. And I know he's watching over us every day.
They want to share his memory, but also a message for the community.
You see something, say something. Even if you're wrong, but then you could be right and you could save this child's life.
What's done in the dark will definitely come to the light. And remember, if you see something, say something.
They started the Caden Gardner Project to educate the community on child abuse and offer resources to anyone who needs them. Reporting in Florence, Aria Pons, 48 on your side.
And such a sad and devastating situation out there in the Shoals. But now we're going to head to break, but coming up, following up on Huntsville's Derrick Street homeless camp and what to expect about the new IKEA coming to the Rocket City. It's all ahead. We'll go through it all in 1 minute. All right, well, hello everyone and welcome back to Before the Four. Now, experts now say that there are an estimated 2,000 people in Huntsville alone without a home. The homeless camp here in Huntsville on Derrick Street can only shelter 70 different people. But where are the others going? 48's Callie Neese works to find the answer to that question. Let's take a listen.
The city is growing and so is the need. Chad Rodriguez from First Stop says he's seen about 1,800 new clients just this year. He's averaging about 7 new clients a day. First Stop works closely with homeless people around the city and works with city leaders to monitor the Derrick Street camp. Rodriguez says the recent camp renovation was a success and is much safer now, adding it has dumpsters and fresh water. The residents also have to be registered with the city, adding that they are getting resources they need to move on from the camp.
So yes, there have been some successes, and that's what we want to see. We want to see a constant revolving door of people coming through the camp. As people move out, new people moved in. 6 new people moved in just last week with the goal that they're taking it serious and are going to use this time to better themselves, better their situation, and move out.
While he is celebrating that success, Rodriguez's attention is turning to the many people who aren't staying there. He sees new homeless people every day, and the camp can only hold about 70 people. You know, some are going into shelters like the Downtown Rescue Mission, but he cannot be sure where all of them are ending up.
The clients that we service are starting to move around town, and we're seeing that. But the biggest thing to remember is everybody has to be somewhere. Everybody has to exist somewhere. If they could be housed, they would be housed. And so just remember that there are people deserving of respect and dignity, and they're just having a hard time right now.
Rodriguez wants the public to know that if you are not a resident of the camp, you are not permitted to be at the camp and you will be trespassed. He said this is a safety and security issue. He adds, if you want to volunteer, you can register to be a volunteer on the city's website. Reporting in Huntsville, Callie Neese, 48 News, on your side.
And now, earlier this week, we learned that Alabama's very first IKEA will open here in Huntsville. 48's Faith Delp with all the details.
Right behind me is the Old Cons Home Store, which is the new address IKEA owners have listed in their press release for the new Huntsville location. Now, this nearly empty parking lot that you see will likely be full when IKEA opens their doors in early 2026. IKEA will be near Mid-City, just off University Drive. The IKEA going in here will be smaller than the typical 2,000 square feet store. Still, IKEA expects a big impact from the smaller footprint here. Allison Pomeroy owns Batter Up Cake Bakery, just a few doors down from where IKEA will be. She expects an increase in foot traffic and lots of cars to pack the parking lot.
It'll be interesting to see. People are gonna have to slow down in the parking lot, so that'll be a plus. People can grab a couch and grab a cake to celebrate their new, home furnishings. So I'm excited.
IKEA's press office tells us there's more than enough room for IKEA shoppers and customers for surrounding businesses in this parking lot. Claire Aiello with the Huntsville and Madison County Chamber tells me this will be a great addition for all businesses, big and small, drawing in shoppers from around the region.
People are going to come in from, around the state to this and out of state. They're going to come to Huntsville for this. So this is one more thing that puts Huntsville on the map, and we're really excited.
IKEA spokesperson says Huntsville customers can expect the same IKEA experience, just on a smaller footprint. And they add there will also be designated spots for pickup orders. Reporting in Huntsville, Faith Delp, 48 News, on your side.
Some exciting stuff indeed. And now let's head into the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscasts. Speaking with local leaders on the growing need for childcare here in the Tennessee Valley, 48's Faith Delp will have that story coming up tonight. Another story you're just not going to want to miss, Governor Kay Ivey in Decatur this afternoon. Find out why coming up. And finally, with less than 2 weeks away from local elections, 48's Callie Neese will have all the latest with the local campaigns. And these are just a few of the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscasts. And as promised, today we are getting to Facebook fun. And this was our question that was posted early yesterday morning on Facebook. Should students be allowed to have cell phones in the classrooms? Now, With a few weeks underway into the school year, this is the first year of the Focus Act, which of course was signed into law this legislative session. Let me know what you think. Let's see what you all had to say. Should cell phones be allowed in the classroom? All right, looks like Josie said, my opinion, students should be allowed to have phones in the classroom in their bags and silenced. Because of school shootings, violence against teachers, and other crises, students should have immediate access for emergency calls, both going out and coming in. The time it takes to go to a locker or even boot up a phone may be too late. Very awesome comment there. Let's see what else you all had to say. Charlotte, we survived for years without phones in the classroom. Why not now? Teachers should have one, but to use for emergency only. Okay, thank you for commenting, Charlotte. Let's see, Ella said, unfortunately, with AI exploding in our tech world, children need to learn how to differentiate fact from fiction. Some schools have already started teaching kids responsible phone and internet usage, knowing in the end kids are going to use phones a lot. I think certain rules in schools for phone usage are needed. I want students to talk to each other and learn critical thinking skills. They need to read books, not just Cliff Notes. Perhaps specific instructional time on phones is justified, but not all day. I certainly see your point there. Thank you for commenting, Ella. And then we have time for one more comment. Gina, she said, I think students shouldn't have their phones during class. However, during lunch and other downtime and on the bus, they should be able to have them. I also think teachers shouldn't have phones during class. They should be attentive to students at all times. When a sixth grader tells you his teacher is always on her phone and doesn't help students in class, that's a problem. Well, awesome comments from you all. Definitely a mix of different opinions there, but that's great. That is what we like to see, a mix of opinions. We all come together and decide on a resolution that is good for both sides, for sure. Absolutely. But thank you all for commenting on yesterday's 48 Facebook question of the day. Y'all, that is just about it for today's Before the Four, but thank you for spending a bit of your afternoon here. I hope you all enjoyed tonight's evening newscasts, and as always, thank you so much for watching. You all have a great night.